let me give you an update. That is what a chestnut tree looks like in full flower. You can see those fronds. We have blue skies. We have bees flying. We have lime trees in flower. Just look at that. So as much as it is beautifully sunny, and we have had 5 amazing days of nectar flow, and you might have seen me with pictures of some frames at one of my yards. So I think they've been on the bramble for about a week, and then they've had 5 days of really good heat. And that has made everything really take off. I can't help but think that overall my bees are down on general strength of colony because of, first of all, the dearth we had, and secondly, the poor spring. So putting all that aside, we are on the up. There's a few that did swarm. There's a few that are swarming now that I'm doing my best to keep in boxes. I've started back up to my routine inspections again. It's a lot of work because there's a lot of boxes to move off now. But the great thing is I went out 5 days ago to all the apiaries and did a quick tour, and there's some honey in it. Not everything, but there's some honey, and there's already more honey than we had in the spring, way more. So I did that the end of last week. Sorry, that was Saturday last week, and now Sunday the week after. I actually had a trip away on Monday and Tuesday and came back Wednesday. I was fortunate enough to get tickets to watch Coldplay in Lyon. So I booked a flight from Rennes to Lyon, met my daughter there and met my mate Ollie from Ollie's Farm, and we had an absolute blast. The concert was just amazing. Never experienced anything like it in my life. I did go to see Taylor Swift this year as well, and I saw Hans Zimmer this time last year. So I've basically been lucky enough to go to 3 concerts in 1 year, and they've all been amazing. But I have to say, Coldplay was just dreamy. Absolutely amazing night. We just had a blast. So flew back Wednesday morning, straight back into beekeeping. There's been a lot of stuff to sort out. But basically, the temperature has dropped. So we had, as I said, 5 days of good weather. And we've now gone back to a northerly flow. But, and this is the big but, and I think it's different this year, we're not 18, 19, 20, we're 21, 22, 23 degrees. And the flow is just reaching its peak now. And this tree is always early and it's still in full flower. So what I'm hoping is, because there's a lot of the 5-leaf bramble still to come into flower, and the forecast is the weather is to change a bit, a little bit warmer towards the end of the week, but nothing amazing, but we still should have 2 weeks of flowers. And if we can kind of get what we've got now dried, and then they're going to add to that, that's what's going to make the difference. So, you know, fingers crossed that we just get that little bit of extra honey in those supers. I had a delivery 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to show you the video now of a load of stuff that arrived, and in it was a load of supers that I will hopefully get some into use before this season's out, so that I can get them drawn up and wax on them, and maybe some honey in them too, but we'll see. But overall, it's a massive, massive improvement on what, in the state of mind and the state of the bees I was in, and the bees are in 2 weeks ago. We now have loads of bees and brood being made, and lots of honey coming in. So I'm hoping that that's going to continue for another couple of weeks. Historically, our flow finishes mid-July. And this year it may just go on to sort of the 18th, 20th because it started late. And because it's not been so hot, like unbearably hot, I think there's a little bit of moisture in the ground still because we've had moisture this spring. So everything is pointing towards a better scenario than last year, subject to these temperatures remaining in the 20s. So that's all we can say. So the other news is I will be starting my splits in approximately 2 weeks. And today I'm actually going to be starting to clean out boxes and get nukes ready. Because I'm going to do like batches of 20 at a time, clean the boxes, sterilize them all with some soda crystals, bleach, whatever I can find, which, you know, however much they need, make frames, get them into boxes and get those nukes ready for the big split. So when I do the big split, I'm going to be doing a queen rearing series from stocking the cell builder to doing the grafts to taking out the 1 to 2 day old cells and then putting them into a finisher or two. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be using different things and I'll try and explain that all the way through. Because I haven't done any queen rearing yet this year because it's only just gone warm enough. And even now it's not brilliant, but we do have lots of drones around still and our Asian hornet numbers are low. In other words, hardly any. So I personally feel that at this particular point, if there's not many Asian hornets now, and my experience of last year and the year before and the year before that, I think that we're going to be okay overall this year, unless it goes roasting hot, and there's no sign of that happening. And that's what they need. They need cooking temperatures, Asian hornets, to really explode and get away. So yesterday I went and did, the day before I went and did a load of apiaries that I double brooded last winter. And I left them on top on the spring. Had a little bit of spring honey from them, but left that honey on top, and they've added to these frames since. So I'll just show you, I've got an absolute ton of frames that are, so heavy and all drawn up. Look at that, I mean, full of honey, and they've added to that. You can see that bottom bit is extra nectar, which is new. So I've got a lot here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes of frames, plus a little bit over here, still left from 3 boxes there. That will give me basically a frame of honey for each nuke that I split without taking much stores from my own colonies. So the great thing is, as much as I struggled in the spring, and yes, I could have said, well, it would have been a much better idea, Richard, if you got your finger out your backside and took that honey last spring and stuck it in each one of the colonies. Well, you know, I did some of that towards the end when I realized that my colonies were so dry, but it's just the way it is. I didn't have a chance to do that. But it just shows you resources that are available one time of the year can be then used another time of the year. And if a flow comes along again this late summer and we have some rain next to a field of facile, I will move hives there again to try and get some free nectar. So the other thing is, this autumn I'm going to be feeding all my nukes and my hives with Hive Alive. I've been fortunate enough to take part in a bit of a trial at home. I've got this spankingly nice new hive tool from Hive Alive that they've sent me. And I've also got the feed that will see them into the winter. Now I will plug this a bit, because actually myself, I found that the problem with hive tools is they break, because this part, this eye hook to yank out nails and bits and pieces, is always often in the middle there, and that creates a weak point. And because it's at the end, I feel that this slightly larger bar anyway is going to withstand the test of time because it's thicker. But what they've done here, if you look at the end, the bevel or the reduction is longer. So that means you'll still got the narrowness to stick your hive tool under a box, but you've got the thickness of the metal that when you get it in, it's going to be able to push it further up to get that leverage and split the boxes. So as well as the hook on there, I've got other ones I use. This is actually one from Slovenia, and I really like this, but it's very similar in size to the hook. But it's got, the only thing I will say is it's got no notches on it, on the bar, which this one's got, and that is really handy for stopping, where are we? That's really handy for stopping the hook, the frames falling off the hook. So a little thing for Hive Alive already, I picked up that might be handy to add some notches because it helps hold the frame as you're lifting up vertically, but it's only a little thing. Just to say, but I do like this in terms of strength because I break these quite often. I think this will easily outgun there. And also the color is great. Yellow if you lose it in green grass, green if you lose it in yellow grass. It's a good idea that. I got this one from Vermont when I was there. This is a pressed steel frame lever that Mike Palmer and his crew used, and basically you can stick this like you can this into the hive and lift out your frames vertically. And it's really good because if you do 2 or 3 frames at the same time with 2 or 3 people and you work on one colony, the queen hasn't got time to run from one to the other, and usually you get the queen out really quickly using this. And it's a good tool, but I have bent this, so I don't really know how strong it is. But anyway, one of the other hive tools I've got. And I also have another type, but it's not here at the moment. I probably lost that one, but I've got one of the standard ones you see the Canadians using a lot. But yeah, as a quick review before I start using it, I'd say this looks pretty promising. Because I also like the fact that the other bevel of the scraper on the other end is right where you need it at the top. Like my other one I've got, it will be really useful and it can be resharpened, but I don't like it too sharp, that's the thing. So, Good effort from Hive Alive there. I tell you, I'm looking forward to use this. I think it'll be a really good tool to have. So the feed I'm going to be using, I'll talk about later on, and I'll show you the trials. When I release my queens from my queen cages in the summer, after I've caged them and treated them after approximately 21 to 24 days, which is what I do, I'll be feeding them all with a 1-to-1 syrup for as long as I can to get them to build brood, and also to get them to build brood in those new queens that I've hopefully mated. So that'll be something we're going to be doing as a progression. We've got good weather in terms of that finally. It's stable, it's more centered, the weather. It's not up and down, it's taking longer to change, which is so much better for mating, for getting queens raised and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be doing all of that. But overall, we're going to be really busy, basically from another 2 weeks onwards. But the next 2 weeks gives me a chance to get all my boxes ready and make frames that I haven't done yet. So all these boxes, this is extra. The other load's still up there. That'll be the second and third batch. This will be the first batch I do because I've finally got most of them back now. They've all got to be cleaned out, feeders washed, sterilised, as I said. New foam entrances put in so that everything is ready. And all this honey used, so everything is ready to just get on with making nucs. I mean, to me, this is like gold dust. For having a frame like this to be able to put in your colony as an instant reserve, as well as feed, as well as liquid feed, will give those colonies the boost they need, and it means less feeding overall during the whole summer. And it moves the frames onwards, and you get other stuff cleaned out. So there is a lot going on. And first of all, here is the video of the delivery we received last week. And the whole point of this is just to point out that finally, I'm fairly sustainable now in handling deliveries. I can unload from a Arctic lorry or a semi, and I can deal with that. It can all become here, and then we can move stuff around on the racking. Mezzanine is all going to go in very shortly. My grant is another step closer to being able to sign the quotes. Everything is kind of moving forward bit by bit, but it just takes a lot of time. So here's the video. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great day. Bye for now. Big delivery today, but I wasn't expecting it to come in what we call a semi-remorque, which is obviously an articulated lorry. So what we had to do was use my truck to reverse down to the articulated lorry, which luckily had a tail lift on the back, because I can't take my gerber or my pallet mover down through this gravel, because it's not all concreted, darling. It doesn't work like that. So I had to reverse the truck down, unload each pallet onto that, which is great, and then we could use the unloader here to unload each pallet. So what is in these pallets? So obviously this is pretty self-explanatory. This is 1,000 frames from ETS Le Rouge, where I get a lot of my gear from, and these here are Honey Supers. So I can show you these, but if I had a knife. But anyway, these are Honey Supers. You can just see the wood through the box with mortise and tenon joints. I'll get them out after. But the main thing is, proved a point today, we are fully capable of unloading on a flatbed from there all the way up to here, and then we've got everything we need. This is what I bought this machine for, and it's done its job excellently. Obviously, the only thing here is, you see this pallet has wood at the front and the sides, so we can't technically unload this. So what we do is we put the pallet where it's going to go, and then what I do is I put a piece of wood underneath each side and then lower it onto that, remove the forks, and then we can use the other pallet mover from the ground, which will be fine. But just something to have to remember when you've got a piece of kit like this, that there's always something. But anyway, there's my frames, 1,000 frames. That'll be next year's splits and nukes and hive work, and 100 supers, and also 100 frames to go in them. So over 5k of material, but you'll see that as we unload it. But it's a good investment. This is what money I got back from last year's VAT from the building, and that goes towards reinvestment in the building. You have to reinvest, and you add money to the building and the whole business. So the 4 pallets are obviously on the slab. That one is all supers, Honey Supers. So I'm going to do that one in a minute, but that one is frames. There's 900 there, or 800, and there's another 200 here. So I'm going to stack them elsewhere afterwards. These are my Nico feeders for the Dadant 10 frame. I'll show you one here. So when they come down, they are basically from Nicoplast, the same company that make the plastic frames there and other beekeeping products. Nico Queen excluders, Nico Queen rearing cups, all of that. I'll show you those in a minute. But these are some other feeders, and when they come out, these are as they've left the mold virtually. So you have to cut out these little bits, but it's no big deal. It just takes a bit of time. But these are really good feeders. And the first ones they had originally, they warped a bit and they moved a bit, but these ones have got reinforcements in them, and they've evolved over time. And you've got these little things inside. They're called cabochons, or I suppose what you'd call feeder covers. For us, basically, it means the bees can come up from here, from all this space here, and they can come up and drink because the cover clears the top there. I'll show you one in a minute when I find one, but they're somewhere in this order. It was so nice this morning to have this kind of operation where I could reverse the truck down to the lorry, off from the back of the lorry, which was a semi, we call it, semi-remorque or semi-trailer. So you've got, you know, the typical articulated lorry, I mean, and then unload on the truck, then from on the truck onto here. I've never actually got a semi up here before. So, or what you call in America, a semi. Yeah, same thing. They call it a semi-remorque in French. But it was just worked out really well. So I'm going to unpack the supers. The reason why is because I want them to breathe, and I'm hoping to get some in operation this year, but it's just investment. This all represents an investment for the business. I know I've got enough feeders for 280 colonies easily. I've got enough frames to fill those supers. Those are the frames, and I'll show you them after, but these are the supers. They're mortise and tenon joint frames, and I'm very pleased about it. So let's open these up and you can have a look at them as I unload them. Hey, these are nice. Even at first look, okay, there's a crack there. That's no big deal. But overall, the wood looks really good. They got handles on each one, on all sides, and nice finished. So I'm going to offload these onto a smaller pallet and have several pallets so they can be drying squarely in the shade. And I may get a few on this year if I need. The only downside is These have all got, you can see woodwork, metalwork I should say, inside. That is 9 frames. I don't like those, they're gonna have to come out, but that's always the same. But they are a nice product by the look of it. So we take these out and we'll put them either to 8s, which I've got here, when the frames are built, or they'll go in as 10s. But what I might try is building them on 9s this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Build them on 9s if they will build them on 9s. So with these frames, these are the Dadant Nicoplast frames. So Nicoplast are the company, Nicoplast is the French name. And basically 9 of these will go in. If I can get one out. You put 9 like that. But the problem is when you're building brand new frames, sometimes they will build between the frames, but not always. So we're hoping if we have a good flow, we can get these built on 9s. Just like, I'm going to try anyway. Obviously I want to see if it works because I've always used 9s. I like the 9 configuration, to be honest, because it's not too much and it's universal. So you can use old frames and new frames. The problem with 10s is when you harvest 10s, right, you get a lot of frames that aren't built that well. But if you harvest on 9s, they're all built with a decent amount of honey. So for instance, like an extractor, so for instance, a decapping machine has something to cut off when it cuts it automatically. Whereas if you do 10s, they're that little bit closer together, and it's just a little bit less of a amount of honey to work with. But I'm going to draw these up on 9s and see if they work. You always need a strong flow to get these going, but it's good to try. I have drawn up old, cleaned frames, and don't forget these ones, we don't wax them at all. They come ready to go, and you put them in and the bees just draw them up. In my experience, even on 9s, on the older frames that wouldn't be brand new. So I've never tried it on brand new frames on 9 configuration, but I have tried it on 10s with clean frames. Whether they'll pull up brand new frames on 9s, I don't know. But I am super pleased with these boxes. The finish is good. You can see I'm already getting them dirty, look, but nicely made, very strong. So I'm going to put these on 2 pallets, stack them, 4 on a pallet, 4, 4 and 4, but I'm going to allow air between them so they can dry, and they'll dry squarely and straight. That's the thing. But they're well held together, so I don't think it'll be a problem. But anyway, that's a nice delivery this morning. It's turned up just at the right time. Our flow is about to start, as you know. The whole thing about my supers, it's an ongoing thing I do where you have to build them and you have to manage them over the winter, take out the ones with pollen, but that's what gives you good supers full of honey when you need it. So it kind of works for me, and I like that, and I think I'll stick with that for the moment and see where it takes me. Anyway, let's get these unloaded. I tell you what, I'm unloading these supers. You know what? I think I got really lucky here because they are absolutely fantastic. The quality of every single one is brilliant. They've got a laser mark on them. I don't know whether that means like a Control PT 4304HT. I'm not sure, but I'm putting them onto pallets like this because I know when we dry wood, it's really good for them to start drying out slowly. So they'll be aired well, but they'll be in with the other pallet right at the back in the corner, out the sun, and the temperature here is never too hot and never too cold. So you can see the first lot is over there in the corner. So they're going to stay there while I might need some, and I might start painting if I get time. Probably not this summer, but if I can, I will. Then I can just take the pallet outside and start painting them, or even spray them with a spray gun. But tell you what, for the money I paid per box, these are an absolute friggin' bargain, because they are also, I'm not sure what kind of pine they are. They're not the top of the range, but they're square, they're straight. I'm really happy with this. This is like, I nearly cancelled the order last week because this order's a week late. Because I was thinking the weather's crap. I just was a bit negative, but you know what? In hindsight, I'm so glad I said carry on with the order, because this is worth every bit of it. Really pleased to have this finished. I could never make the boxes this good myself. So these are the feeders that I just got from Nico, well, from LaRouge, who are the dealers for them. These are the Nico 10 frame Dadant hive top feeders. They're made by the company Nicoplast, who do injection molding. And the only thing that you have to do to these when you get them is you've got to cut out these middle bits here, because there's actually another piece that goes in there on this one. You can see it in all the others, but that's what's left from the injection mold process. And I have to say that these feeders, as far as I'm concerned, are very standard, but they're also very good. So over the years, they've changed them a bit. They've actually added some reinforcements, because they used to buckle a bit, and often you'd have a bow section here, but only slightly. But so you'd put this back on your feed and there'd be a gap around the outside. But now they've adjusted them so that the feeders are pretty much reliable, and also a frame cover as well. I like to leave mine on upside down over the winter, so then if the bees want to make something bigger in the spring, they can pretty quick if you're not there in time. Just gives a little bit of leeway, and also means the bees can move over the top of the frames in the winter. But so we knock these out, and I'll show you how we do that. It's pretty simple. I just use a hive tool, and you just put your hive tool in here, give it a tap, and out it pops. This is pretty boring work, but you know, there's just jobs you have to do, I'm afraid. So that is the plastic tags removed. And what happens is the bees will come up through here, and these plastic excluders stop the bees getting stuck in the syrup. So I'll try and show you how that works. These are called cabochons. But if I could show you here, you can see there's a gap there. So the bees come up this part, and they can go down in there to drink. But at the same time, it stops them drowning. And these work really well. I have to say, I love these feeders because they're light. You don't have to clean them if you don't want to. Obviously, we do scrape them out and keep on top of them, but they hold, I think it's 10 kilos as well, maybe 5 kilos each side, they used to say. Can't remember where now. Some of them used to say on the side, but they maybe stopped saying that, but I think it's 5 kilos each side. It's a substantial amount of syrup. So it's 430 is the size by 500. And they fit, these will fit the the Langstroth tops as well. I think with a bit of modification, but literally nothing, they will just fit it, because they're just a tiny bit short, but if you stretch it over, it still works fine. So they're really good feeders, and what we have to do is, every time you buy a batch, I bought 50 this time, because it's just cheaper to buy them. They're only pieces of plastic, and they're actually pretty cheap for what they are. So I bought 50 just to add to my amount, because I've only got 3 of the other ones left, and I'm going to need more this autumn, I hope. But my whole point is every hive must have a feeder if it needs it. And that's how I kind of work it. So just a job to do, knock these out, put all those in, another box of the cabochon there. Got a lot of frames, 1,000 frames, and obviously a That's 1,000 Dayton body frames. I've counted them up now, but there's also 1,000 super frames to go in all of these, which are these things from Nico. So these are the BatiCAD that I talk about. You can see them in the light better there. They're pre-drawn, but only slightly, so the bees will build the rest. But you need to build these in a flow. They won't just do it for the sake of it. It's like all comb you want to get built. You build it in a flow and then everything's fine. But they do not seem to mind it just being plastic, providing you don't build them in anything too wide, because then they'll build in between the frames. But these supers are just drying out slowly in the shade here in the honey house without being in direct sun, without being anywhere too hot, anywhere too cold. They're all on pallets now, so I can move them around. That is the beauty of palletizing everything. So far, so good. We're doing well on that.